Okay, so these are a couple notes for just the leading coefficient test. So I have it written out first in words about the steps you're going to take, and then I have kind of like a graphic to help you decide what your answer should be. So the first thing you always want to do is make sure that your equation is in standard form. So that means from your highest degree to your lowest. So an example of that would be if it looked like f of x equals 3x cubed minus 2x squared plus 5. So you can see that you start with your highest degree of 3, then you go down to 2, then if you had just an x, that would be next, which we don't, and then we have our constant, which is like x to the 0, so no degree. So now we actually need to figure out if our degree is odd or even, and then figure out if our leading coefficient is positive or negative. So those are the two things we're going to be looking at. So when we're looking at the degree, I'm going to highlight the degree in red on this example I wrote up here. So this is our degree. It's your highest exponent. So we would first determine if that's odd or even. And then our leading coefficient is the first number with that. So you have your degree, which is highlighted in red. And then you have your leading coefficient, which is in green. So it's your degree. And I'm just going to shorten this to LC for leading coefficient. So once you can figure that out, you can use the following flowchart. So I'm going to put that up on here, and we're going to use this example, the 3 as our leading coefficient and 3 as the degree as well, to figure out what the end behavior is going to look like. So we start off with our degree. So for us, our degree, I'm just going to write it down here again. So our degree was 3, and our leading coefficient was also 3. So our degree is 3, so that is an odd number. So we're going to be following along on this flowchart on this side. We're going to start with our degree, which is odd. Then we need to figure out, is our leading coefficient positive or negative? So our leading coefficient is positive, so I'm going to follow it down to here. So once I know that my leading coefficient is positive, no matter what degree I have, this is what my graph will look like, okay, the end behavior. Now there might be other bumps and stuff going on in the middle, but the arrows on the end will always be the same. So you don't need to overcomplicate it. Think about the easiest odd degree function, which is a line. So when we're looking at this, we can see that the left-hand side, so the left arrow is pointing down. So that's where we write left-hand side to negative infinity. And we look at our right-hand side, or our right arrow, and it's pointing up, so to positive infinity. And that's really all you have to do here, is to write what we have down here in this last row, which is what all of your answers would be. And basically to just write it out as just like how I have it here. LHS, or left-hand side, is approaching negative infinity. Right-hand side, RHS, to positive infinity. So let's do one more example. So we'll do one from start to finish. So if we have the function, I'll write it down here. So f of x equals, we'll do negative 1/2 x to the 4th plus 2x cubed minus 10. So when I'm looking at my example here, I can see that my highest degree is 4. It's my highest exponent. And my leading coefficient is the number with that term. So it's negative 1/2. I don't care that it's a fraction. I just care that it's negative. So let's use our flowchart. So we have our degree is 4 and our leading coefficient is 1/2. So degree 4, that means that we are now working with an even degree. So we're going to be following along on the right-hand side. So we have an even degree, and then we had a negative leading coefficient. So we come down to the negative side, and then this is what our graph would look like. Again, there might be other stuff happening in the middle, but the two arrows are going to be pointing in the same direction. So we would write left-hand side is approaching negative infinity because my left arrow is pointing down, and then my right-hand side is approaching negative infinity as well because my right-hand side is also pointing down. Okay, so that's what you would write. So you would write what we have in this like last little cloud here, and you would write just this. You don't need to graph it. You don't need to do any more work with it other than just determine the end behavior, where the arrows are pointing. So one thing that you'll notice when you have an odd degree, they're going to be opposite. One's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. When you have an even degree, they're going to be the same. So either both positive or both negative. So that's an easy way to check your work.